Hi everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm very happy to see you on my channel, and if you are seeing me for the first time, my name is Dwijaa and I make DIY home decor videos for the things that you usually find expensive on some high-end decor websites or probably in the stores, and something that you can think that you can make it on your own and you like to make it on your own. So I make those type of videos. I just go to thrift store, I make DIYs, and yes, just post it on YouTube. If you are interested in doing the same thing, you came to the right place. You will definitely enjoy this video, and please don't forget to go and watch my other videos. You will like it too. So without wasting a minute, let's get started with today's video. So today's video is about textured art. Just the way I made before, it's the same type of art, it's just a different type of designs. In previous video, I have showed you my recipe for textured paste. It's pretty much the same paste. It's just that you don't need tools to make the design. You'll be able to make these things on your own, and it totally depend on your imagination for the colors. So I hope you will enjoy it, and I've actually added a few color guides and color palettes that you can use to make this art. So I hope you will enjoy it, and let's get started.
Hello from VoiceOver with Dwijaa. So to get started, if you have seen my previous video, you know I start with Spackle base since it makes my work easy. So here I had a pre-made spackling compound to get started with. It was pretty thick consistency, which is a little hard to work around while making the textured art. So I started modifying it. Mistakenly, I lost the previous part of the footage, but this is pretty much explains what I have used in paste. My ingredients to make the paste are school glue, water, and white cement, according to the consistency I need. Optional ingredients are baking soda and acrylic paint. So I play around with my essential ingredients until I get the desired consistency for my paste. Initially, I start with just a glue that basically holds up the entire paste after it gets dry. So there will not be any chipping coming out from the art once it gets dry. And then I add a little bit of baking soda, so that is also gives the bubbles in the textured piece. The reason it gives bubbles is because it gets mixed with a little bit of water that is remaining in the paste, and that gets reacted with the baking soda, and due to that it forms a bubble, and that's a cool part. So due to that, the paste itself gets a really nice texture. It's very like an airy and light paste due to the baking soda. And after all of that added, I felt that my paste was a little bit liquidy, so I added white cement later on, and I kept my paste aside fully covered for about 30 minutes once it gets completely mixed up. Color is optional. If I'm going to paint a texture after the drying, I would not add color in paste because that also adds a little bit of like liquidness to the paste. After making the paste, I had this tray which I made for my Diwali decor. It has the beautiful wood edges in depth, which was absolutely perfect for my textured art, so I decided to upcycle it. I took some time. I took some of the paste out in container and made 4 portions of the paste. I was going to make ombre nude paste in different 4 shades. So for the first color, I got some paste out in a plate and made the lightest nude shade possible by adding a tiny bit of burnt amber color, which is pretty much like a brownish color to it. And I mixed that thoroughly with my white textured paste, and I made sure that I get the right shade. So according to that, I can make 3 other shades. And so for the next one, I added a little bit more brown color, and I would say I added the double the amount of I added before, and I mixed it really well. And for the last one, I actually needed the bright yet same shade of color palette. So I added a little bit of cherry red in it. So when I mix it, it turns out nude pink shade. So I added brown and the cherry red color together, but cherry red in a tiny bit of amount. It was more of a brown color. And for the fourth shade, I kept the white color the way it is. I did not make any changes to that. So basically, I had a white, nude, tan nude, and a nude pink color paste. You can actually use green, brown, tan, and yellow, whichever the color that you are feeling for that day. And here are some inspiration you can use. For my ideas, I usually search for the color palettes on Pinterest, and I modify according to the availability of the products I have, or depending upon what I want to make. And then I started spreading each color in abstract way onto the frame I had. I started with the second and third shade. So I left the lightest and the darkest color for in between patches. So I went for the most organic way possible. I made strokes, I made random patches, and also the circle and different shapes on the blank canvas, because there was going to overlap with other colors. And because and after the 50% of my frame was filled, I let it dry partially. And if you have time, you can actually let it dry fully. I was going to make another layer, as I said before, from the remaining colors to fill up the entire frame by 100%. The reason I let them dry in between is because if I spread all the colors together, there are chances that we might have like all the colors mixing up together, since it's all wet, and we will not have any texture for each color. So it's very important that we let it dry in between some layers or some patches. Whenever you feel that your color or the different color patches are mixing in between, you have to stop working on it. You have to let it dry, and then you have to start working on it again. So if you want, you can dry multiple times whenever you feel the piece is mixing up with a different color. So once that was dry, I filled up the gaps with the remaining color possible. I used the white color to fill in the gaps. But the reason is because if it's white, the other nude shades that I already had on the palette, that can pop out, rather than filling the gaps with the darker color. So I wanted my texture to be on a lighter side, so I filled the gaps with the lighter color. But it's definitely your call how you want to make it. You can definitely fill it up with any kind of ombre shade you have, or just for the trial, you can actually try any other color from outside of your palette and see how it turns out. And after filling the entire frame, I let that sit and dry for about 24 hours in a cool, dry air. And after an hour, I just have to keep checking that it's not creating the cracks in between of my face. So yeah, that was pretty much it, and this is how I made it.
Thank you so much. If you're at this part of the video, I thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed, and if you have, don't forget to go and watch my other videos. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on them, because that's gonna help me to create my YouTube community. So once again, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.